Good Monday evening, everybody. We're going to be talking about Tropical Storm Dorian this evening. Hope you're enjoying your day. A lot to talk about in terms of where the system is going to be going and potentially the strength of the system. Had a few questions about this storm, so we're going to dive into it tonight and see what we can uncover. So we're looking at the storm right now on the water vapor, which kind of gives us an idea of the moisture field of this storm. And you know some of these yellow colors, the light colors here on the north and western side of the storm, that's some drier air. It's been inside of a dry environment over the past several days, which is why it's currently not a hurricane. That's why it's been kind of steady at tropical storm strength. However, over the past 2 days, regardless of the dry air environment, we have seen consistent convective bursts over the center of circulation, which indicates it's still managing to maintain its strength and even strengthen in the process even without the dry air in place or whatnot. So it's still fairly healthy of a system, regardless of whatever dry air is starting to impact the system. If we look at the visible imagery, you can see those convective bursts over the center of circulation over the past few hours later this afternoon. Now, talking about the size of this system, I know the sun's going down, that's why you're seeing the black screen. We're going to be talking about how large the system is going to be. It's going to be kind of key to see how large it's going to be over the next few days. Something also to notice is see these outflow boundaries on the northern side of the system, also indicative of dry air in the area. When you see these outflow boundaries in the tropics, it's a good indicator that the system is dealing with dry air. Again, so back to the size of this system. Right now it's been mostly pretty small, pretty compact of a system. And that's going to be kind of key in terms of how it's going to interact with the drier air and the overall pattern the next few days. The larger the system can get, because tomorrow this system will be somewhere just west of the Caribbean islands, the dry air is going to start to lessen just a little bit, and this system is going to be in a little bit more of a moist environment. If it's a larger system in a moist environment, it's able to kind of expand its area and be able to deflect the wind shear potential dry air that it will face later on this week if it's a little bit of a larger system. The more compact it is, well, it can intensify fairly quickly in the short term with very favorable conditions, which is why these islands and up towards Puerto Rico, which we'll get to in just a second, should watch it fairly closely to potentially reach hurricane strength. However, the smaller it stays, once it reaches land, say Hispaniola, and maybe even some wind shear later on this week, the quicker it can be to dissipate. So the size is going to be key over the next few days in terms of how it's going to fare down the road. Looking at the stats as of 5 p.m. Eastern this evening, it's a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm, moving about to the west-northwest around 15 miles per hour. Tropical storm warnings are in effect for the Caribbean islands, with hurricane watches in place as well. It is forecast to become a hurricane late tomorrow and into Wednesday as it makes its approach towards Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. So again, like I was saying, Puerto Rico, parts of Hispaniola should be prepared for a hurricane impact or landfall sometime late Wednesday going into Thursday. Now, in terms of strength after that, as we discussed, size is going to be key, and it's also going to depend how much it interacts with these land areas. Notice that by within a day's time period, it's already passed some of these islands once it gets late Thursday. So by Thursday later this week, it's already passed all these islands. It's done interacting with land, and then it starts to deal with the very warm waters of the southwest Atlantic, which the waters are very warm in this general region. It's kind of really warm bath water. So a lot of warm water to deal with. However, there will be a little bit of shear that will come into play later on this week that could help to either keep it steady or weaken it a little bit. Again, smaller system and a little bit ragged after this. It could actually almost dissipate as it gets into here, which some models do call for. However, if it does decide to shoot the gun and go in between these land areas fairly quickly, stay over water more, and expand its size in the process, then it could be a little bit healthier in this environment, help to kind of shield itself from the shear, and therefore we could be talking about a strengthening system in this general region late in the week. Again, let's not get too much into the strength right now. There's a lot of questions to deal with over the next 24 to 48 hours before we start to really say, oh my goodness, there's a tropical storm or something coming here over the southeast U.S. We're not going to get into that much detail at this particular point. What I can say right now, though, is the overall pattern does favor a turn back towards the southeast U.S. Why is that? Well, let's take a look at the maps. Again, a big shout out to Levi Cowan, a good friend of mine. His website does some really good stuff. He does a great job on his videos and also his website. So if you want to learn some more, definitely check out his videos on his tropical updates on a nightly basis with active tropical systems. And definitely check out his website. Some really good stuff out here. So thanks again, Levi, for making your site public. All right, so looking at one of the models here, we're looking at the upper level pattern this afternoon, what came in on the model runs. We have a trough of low pressure moving into the northern U.S., which is actually going to bring in some very nice conditions to parts of the eastern U.S. later on this week. So if I had to say there's some good news about all this this update, it's, man, it's going to feel great by the end of the week across parts of the eastern U.S. So definitely get outside and enjoy it later on this week. There's also an area of low pressure located off the northeast coast. That would be moving up towards the northeast with a ridge of high pressure somewhere just to its north. As we fast forward through time, let's go through about Wednesday. Dorian will be located somewhere around here. We have that very strong trough of low pressure bringing in that nice, cool, and drier air into the central and eastern U.S. And we kind of have this ridge starting to nose its way in between these two areas of low pressure. So that's going to be interesting to see how this develops as we go into Wednesday, because by Thursday and Friday, that ridge of high pressure that has developed in between those systems kind of blocks this trough. It kind of sits here over Canada as we go later on this week. This low pressure is moving out to sea, but this ridge of high pressure is going to kind of nose its way back into the western Atlantic. So like I said, the overall pattern favors a turn back towards the southeast U.S. with Dorian, and that's the reason why we have this ridge of high pressure kind of developing here over the western Atlantic. So whatever is here, whether it's kind of the remnants of Dorian, whether it's an organized system named Dorian, anything here will be located in the Bahamas underneath this building ridge of high pressure. By the time we go through about, say, Saturday, anything will be located right about in here will either be stalling, slowing down, or starting to push off towards the west, towards Florida or the southeast United States. It just depends upon how strong this ridge of high pressure is. The stronger the ridge of high pressure builds back in, the faster it is to move back towards the west and not stall at all. The weaker this is, like let's say this is really a huge weakness with a trough of low pressure here, and the ridge of high pressure, way up here, then this system would likely stall over here somewhere in the southwest Atlantic. So again, even then, there's still some key ingredients we have to watch over the next several days. And I'm really not going to go past Saturday into next week, because when we get into the tropics, once you get past day 5, it really almost is nonsense to start talking about the pattern and all the big key players and what's going to be happening. There's a lot to be answered over the next 48 hours. Again, the strength of this system, how it's faring with the dry air around it, how it interacts with land on Wednesday and Thursday, and then how strong is this ridge of high pressure going to be by the end of the week? Where is it going to be located? So a lot of questions still to be answered. But I think the overall pattern through at least Saturday is pretty set in stone. We'll see something over here in the southeast Bahamas sometime as we get into Friday. So just something to keep in mind if you live in the Bahamas or towards Florida and the southeast U.S. Again, no need to panic or freak out at this point. Basically, what you need to be doing is watching this system very closely, paying attention to your local authorities and what they're asking you to do, and keeping that plan in place. Thinking about what you would do if this system does strengthen more or thread the gun there across the land areas and it's a little bit stronger than anticipated. Again, you want to keep all these things in mind, but not panicking as you do so. So just something to keep tabs on as we go through the Labor Day weekend. I do know it's the Labor Day weekend coming up, so as you're planning up your plans, keep this in mind. It could be a little bit wet across some of the southeast U.S. as we go into the holiday weekend, all due in part to Dorian and also a leftover front over the southeast U.S. So that's what we're talking about this evening. Again, I will continue to monitor this as we go over the next several days. Hopefully I'll have another update tomorrow, and hopefully we have a little bit better of an idea of how it's interacting with its environment around the storm. We might have some reconnaissance aircraft also to give some more feedback into the models and hopefully help the long-range forecast where it's going to be and how strong it potentially could be as we go into the holiday weekend. Until then, again, keep close tabs on it. Be alert. Be aware. don't panic, and also get outside and enjoy that nice cooler air if you're watching in the continental United States across parts of the eastern U.S., because here it comes. All right, that's it for now. Hope you enjoy your Monday evening, and we'll check back in later.